Boom. Okay, we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. This is Teal and the Arcane Bear. I always keep trying to tell myself I'm going to make more videos, and maybe I'm just going to make shorter videos. That's maybe an easier way to accomplish the second goal, is to have a first easier goal to achieve. Anyways, nonetheless, I wanted to update some of my thoughts here. We're in a new scene. We've never tried this particular style of breakdown before, but ultimately I wanted to kind of update on the week. If we look at strong assets, things that hold over decades, always buying and always accumulating is a boring type of mantra. It's not as exciting and there's not as much hype, although the enjoyment of the upside is usually significantly higher. Being patient is almost always paid off the best. Now, often we want to pursue what makes us happy, and we should do that, whether it's how we live our lives through the things that we're interested in or the work that we do. Ultimately, one of the reasons why I keep making videos at all is because I really like doing this. I like the conversation with the community. I like being able to rant and share my thoughts about the growing ecosystem that we've been a part of the last decade. I have to my left shoulder here a mutant ape, which we'll talk about, and to the right corner a Bitcoin, which we're also going to talk about. Now, I'm going to leave with Bitcoin here because it is generally kind of our North Star and guiding light for what brought me to this sector. It is about sovereign, free choice money that is backed by technology and mathematics, and I'm trusting that more than this kind of individual line. Now, one of the unique things about currency and the conversations around money is understanding that they are different in their function. Currency and money are effectively different in what they're supposed to be achieving. For instance, money is much more like a battery, and currency is much more like the wire or the line of where the energy is moving towards effectively. So there's a lot of loss in the signal of the wire. That's why wires will get hot the more load there are. You're just hitting resistance along there. And this is one of the problems with inflation, also kind of what necessitates it. One of the unique things about currency and both money is they have the ability to be a meme as well. The idea that a cultural adoption of something doesn't need to have a functioning underpinning that is sound or correct in any way, shape, or form, just need consensus. Now, this is one of the downsides to groups, which is a whole nother podcast of conversations, I'm sure. But ultimately, if you see group identity forming, what I was really interested in about money in this Bitcoin conversation, this free choice money, I'm also really interested in the idea of sovereign free choice identity. Over the last few years, we've seen this degradation of the social platforms, which should be generally public space, and you should have open, rigorous debate around many conversations, and let the truth of light really be fleshed out through the determination of many trials and experiments. And this is what the old scientific model represented, but today we don't see that basis. We see much more kind of a political or a social ideological result to a conversation which was once done through debate and rigor, is now done through who's most politically woke on the outside. So when we're making investments, one of the reasons why I found the board Apes so interesting is how it aligns with my interest in sovereign and free choice money. What about free choice identity? The freedom to practice religion or the freedom to express oneself has always been a core interest in my value. One of the reasons why I moved to Central America was because their leniency in the digestion of something like ayahuasca or mushrooms is wide open. Whereas in Canada, when I was growing up, I would have been considered a criminal for my interests and the things that I was effectively studying at that time. And there's something kind of broken about the way the system sees the fringe. So for me, this potential of group identity in sovereign form where we can kind of participate within an ecosystem is a really unique function that I didn't see coming. Now, I always thought about NFT space, its relationship to sovereign identity like that of which a government would give you. And those things always worried me because we've seen what tyranny does. And regardless if your government is going to go down that tyranny route today, eventually they do. Because what we're looking at is if currency and money are both a battery and a wire, what we're also looking to do is include capacitors, the ability for something to generate more energy than is being put into it effectively. There's a transformer will do this as well too. These are usually business entities. They are wealth generators. And one of the unique functions about currency as a meme, or social identity potentially as a meme as well, is that they can be productive to the community that adopts them. You know, ultimately a town of 10,000 or 30,000 people is extraordinarily powerful. And because there is so much loss in both the currency and financial ecosystems, a general town of 10,000 people is not receiving the productive nature of those 10,000 people, especially if they are uniquely aligned in vision and understanding of what the future might look like. So I think it's been a fascinating last 2 weeks because I've spent a lot more time trying to see my own future of identity. You can go buy a passport right now in multiple countries through an investment sequence of events, a lot of paperwork for around $150,000. What we perceive as identity in the last few hundred to thousands of years before is largely in physical attributes, whether we appear like we're from the same tribe. This is probably one of our oldest identity clicks. Like you could uniquely tell that there are different tribes, and this is how a lot of people would war over space back in the day. Now, a lot of ideological tribes were built around religion or culture and class. And this is a unique mixture of the early fringe. Again, buying an ape or something for a few $1,000s was a uniquely fringe idea, especially just a few months ago. Now it makes a lot more sense as there's more support, and the community itself has really started to, let's say, show face. And ultimately, this conversation between money and currency and the capacitors, the generators, are really important because Bitcoin's capacitor and generator is largely through the mining system, whereas the Bored Ape is going through more of a cultural identity and cultural adoption decision, which is very unique. It's one of the things I think that was largely overlooked about Dogecoin. One of the things I thought was prominent as well is that, look, all of our past is full of currencies that were really backed by nothing other than people's belief and interest in something. And people have deep-seated beliefs and interest in something, especially when it comes to their identity. So I think what we're witnessing, and I hope what we're witnessing, is more of an altruistic take on how you might be able to represent your identity based also off this kind of trusted and verified network of almost what, you know, you could make arguments that these are kind of really short, very robust legal documents. You know, something as simple as escrow on a time function is replacing a lot of the old legal systems. So what happens when we replace both the sovereign ownership, not just of physical property, but of oneself, potentially as well? This is what I spent the last week thinking about. I thought you guys might like to enjoy that little quick rant. The last thing I wanted to update on was just that I'm generally quite bullish on Bitcoin still. So there's this nice ascending triangle right near the bottom of the long-term trading range. I do suspect that we're going to continue upwards quite a bit quickly. So these are not super trustworthy signals. I try to stay away from them because they're way too micro for my enjoyment. But ultimately, when we go back to our core thesis here, which is, again, remembering, ladies and gentlemen, that these governments have largely introduced kind of like an economic sin into the banking system, which is this endless inflationary process of debt, which results in more and more companies that should have failed ultimately exploding. Now, I'm betting on technology, I'm betting on the future, but also betting on understanding the past. Bitcoin's been around for a long time. It's going to continue to click. It's done a great job so far. I don't suspect it's going to go anywhere. When I'm participating in newer, more abstract ideas, I'm also understanding that the risk of kind of a short-term play, like I wouldn't have necessarily bet super hard on a Bored Ape or something, or a Mutant Ape back in the day, but now it seems more logical. You know, sometimes being late to the party but still showing up to the party is not a bad way to go. Anyways, this is Teo with the Arcane Bear. I thought I'd just leave you the quick update. Look, long-term, bullish. If you just focus on accumulations and generating revenue, you'll do really well. Keep life simple. Enjoy, try to remember to be grateful for how far you've always come. It's very easy to overlook those particular things as well, but they ultimately make a huge difference in your day-to-day expenditure. And yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that. I'll try to do more videos. There's a few things that happened over the last 2 weeks I want to talk about. I want to talk about the FOMC meetings. I'm super hyped on the apes. There's an ape shit video by Timberland and those guys with the zoo. That was fantastic as well. Yeah, so ultimately I've spent a lot more time thinking about identity than money, which was a unique shift because of the apes. So I thought I would share that that deep dive into what I was feeling about identity and what cultural identity means or has meant in the past. I think it's a fascinating conversation, so I'm really excited to see where that goes in the future as well. I think it could be some of the cornerstones of what we're looking for more decentralized forms of identity. Knowing that you can prove you're someone and with a reputation without having to rely on the same corrupt system that we've relied on in the past that will also happen to be in control of the money system. Anyways, just some rants from out here in the jungle. Hope you guys enjoyed today's intro. Keep it calm and peaceful, and we'll see you on the next episode.